All right, here we are. We just finished up that part of the apartment, and well, we need to make a. We're just going to keep on making our edits and keep on just sort of making things up as we go along. I'm going to change my current layer. I'm going to make. You know what? I don't need to change my current layer right now, but what I do need is I need a rod and a shelf in this closet. So I'm going to offset 12 inches for the rod, and then I'm going to offset another 2 inches for the shelf. Now 20, so that's where I've got this drawn at. And what I'm going to do is I want to show you guys a little something. It makes, once you have a few items on the correct layers, it becomes very easy to match the things that are there. So these two lines need to be on the millwork layer. They need to be on this layer, A-floor-millwork-N. So if I come up here and say match layer, so I'll highlight this, it says select my objects. So I want to change these, press return. Select object on destination layer. So I can click, this is the destination layer. The lines are instantly on my millwork layer. So that saves me, this is one of those things that saves me. And I believe the keystroke command for this is just, well, that's lay match. And it's a weird thing. There's another way that you can get to this a whole lot easier, and that's MA. And that's match properties, and that does actually quite a few more things. And we'll show you some more of that here in a little bit. But for the hanging rod, I need to change its line type to center 2. And the shelf is going to be hidden 2. Now, whether it's a shelf or whether it's an upper cabinet, they're both going to be hidden 2. Well, I need to put some doors in here, and I'm going to start with this section here, and I want some sliding doors, because I already have some sliding doors here but I've got sliding doors over here. You'll notice a couple of things. Number one, they're on the glazing layer, which means these are glass doors. Obviously not like solid Herculite glass doors, nothing like that, but your typical indoor-outdoor sliding glass doors that you see in any apartment or a condo. And also the layer's locked. So how am I going to do this? Well, if I come up here to layer, this little icon immediately to the left of match layer is layer unlock. So if I click this icon, anything I select and left click on, that layer is unlocked. Now you see how that layer got a little bit brighter. That means those objects are now, or that layer is unlocked. So I'm going to start my copy command, and all I want, I don't need the whole thing, I just need some of it. So I only need half of it. And I'm going to use my distance command. I want to measure the length, the size of this door. So I can come up here to measure, come down to distance, or I could also type DI for distance at the command prompt. Mounts do the same thing. Get my distance, left click, and it comes down right over here, 5'10". So that's that size. Well, 5'10" is a strange size for a set of sliding doors. It needs to be 6 feet, which means that I need to stretch this twice in 1-inch increments. So S for stretch, and I'll just take the top end and stretch it up 1 inch, and then take the bottom and stretch 1 inch down. I will then copy the jam from there. Now I want to highlight the whole thing, and I want to put them on the door layer. There we go, just like that. Now that that's done, I can come over here and I can lock that existing glazing layer just to make sure I don't accidentally do anything with it. Come over here. And now I'm going to show you some more reference points when I'm moving. So I've selected my objects, or my move command. I started my move command, I selected my objects. I'm done selecting my objects, I'll press return. Now what I want to move from is there's an imaginary point somewhere right here, which comes off of this intersection and the inside edge of the jam. So you can see I've got axis guides. Remember, you just hold your mouse over it for a second and it will turn those guides on. But if you hover over it again the second time, that guide will go away. So hold it there for a second to get that one guide, hold it there to the other guide, and then you can get the intersection of those two guides. That's where I'm at right now. So I'll left click. So that's the base point. This is where I'm moving it from. And I want to move it to the midpoint of this line. That right there, that lets me know that that door is centered. That door is centered on the closet. But you can tell it's obvious, it's far too big. So I'm going to use my stretch command. I want to get just the outside edge of these door jambs. I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to stretch from this endpoint to that intersection. Now I want to move these two doors from that endpoint to that midpoint. Okay, and now rectangle, guide from the middle of the jamb, or I can get a guide from the end of the jamb, come up, just some arbitrary amount. All I'm going to use that rectangle for is a cutting element, so I can cut out that piece of wall. Delete the rectangle, and there it is. I'm going to show this exact operation again. I'm going to show it on the door going into the bathroom. I'm going to click on Make Current, so any object that I select, the object that layer is on will become my current layer. You can see up here, I'm working with the A wall in, so that's my new walls layer. If I select my door, A door new. So that's the layer that I'm currently working on. I'm going to type I for insert, and this will allow me to see the doors, the blocks I already have in this file. So there's my door. This is the door block that we made earlier. I need to back up a step. I need to show you that. Hang on. I just clicked escape, I for enter. I want to specify my scale on screen, but I want my scale to be uniform. You know how some of you were doing the drag and drop in class earlier, and there was always that, you know, what scale do you want? Well, you wanted it at a scale of 1, and then there's that second prompt that says, do you want your vertical scale to match your horizontal scale? And you always say yes. Well, clicking on this little icon right here, that allows you to bypass that, at least while you're using this command. So come back up here, door, specify my scale on screen. The uniform scale. I can even specify my rotation on screen. And here I am. That's my door. Just left click somewhere, really doesn't matter. And I want this door to be 24 inches. There we go. Okay, I'm going to mirror. You know what? I'm going to show you a different way to mirror this. I'm going to highlight my door. Left click on that grip right there. Now if I right click, I've got this option to do stretch, move, rotate, scale, or mirror. And the mirror point is always going to start at that base point that I first selected. I just drag down on my axis lock, and there we go. So I can left click on that grip again, come to move. I will hover over this end point of the wall and drag in the direction I want to go. Type 6, push return. There we go, just like that. And now I'm going to use my rectangle command, and I will draw in some jambs. And you can see I'm just hovering I hover my mouse to get my object tracking points established, and I don't left click, and I'm entering my distance as I go. So we'll go through this one more time because I need to make a rectangle to break out this piece of the wall. So I'm going to hover my mouse, drag in the direction that I want to go, left click, hover my mouse, drag in the direction I want to go, left click, TR for trim, select my objects, those are my objects I want to trim, and then erase that last object. All right, so there's a few doors and some things in there. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that I've changed my block definition so that this door swing is a lighter line weight than the panel of the door. I'll show you how to do that. Come over here, look at my blocks. I'm going to open my block. So what you'll do is you highlight the swing of your door, you come up here to line weight, and you change that to 0.09. You save your door block, and you close the file. And then when you insert, and I probably should have done a few other things to show what that would look like. Instead of clicking down here to get to the door block, you will click on Browse, find where the door file is that we were actually dealing with over here. So that's that door block, and click Open. And all that really doesn't matter because we're redefining a block, so we'll click OK. And this is where we get the message, do you want to redefine the door block? Well, what you're saying, or what you're telling AutoCAD, the definition of the door that existed in the other file, that's going to override the definition of the door that exists inside your floor plan file. So click on Redefine Block, and it's been redefined. Unfortunately, I did not undefine it so that door swing was thick and heavy so you didn't see anything visible there. But here's another exercise to show you what that looks like. I'm going to make my plumbing layer my current layer. I'm going to insert my kitchen sink. Okay, so you can see there are some issues here that definitely need to be resolved. First of all, I have an extra line here that I need to get rid of. And secondly, you can see that I've got some lines here that are not matching the color of my plumbing fixtures. Now, some of you may notice what the deal is. What does by layer mean? Well, it means that the color of this object is going to match the properties of the layer. So, and that includes blocks. So if I highlight this block and I change it from plumbing fixtures to mechanical, just for the purposes of this illustration, you'll see that all my colors change, my line weight changes. I come here and change it to the overhead layer, and you'll see even the line type will change because the properties of the properties that we use to define that object, most of them were set to by layer so that they will take on the properties of the layer here. Let's get this back down to plumbing fixtures. So we need to correct this block definition. So I'm going to open up my double sink. Well, I know I need to delete that line. That one's easy. Highlight the line and delete it. But you'll notice if I highlight these two objects, up here at the top, it says the color of them is white. Well, I don't want my color to be white. I want the color to be by layer. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually change those to be green because that's the color of the layer that I'm actually using. But this is actually, it's solving the problem by hiding the problem. It's not that we want the color to be green because that's what color the layer is. We want the objects on this block to be whatever layer color that block sits on. Well, this color green is great for new plumbing fixtures. It doesn't work for existing plumbing fixtures or even demolished plumbing fixtures. So that's the reason we use by layer for almost everything. But what I'm going to do now is I'm also going to highlight all these interior objects. I'm going to change their line weight to 0.15. And I'll show you what that does here in a second. So we'll save it, and we'll close it. So here's our sink. There's that extra line. These are the lines that are in white. We don't want them to be white. We want them to match the color of the layer. So I for insert, click on Browse. It will take us to where we've saved our blocks. Double kitchen sink. Click Open, click OK. Do you want to redefine the block? Yes. Okay. Now you can see it now. I don't need another copy of this block, so I'm going to click Escape and press the Escape key on the keyboard. But you'll notice the extra line went away. These two inner objects are the proper color, and all these inside objects are now a thinner line weight. It'll provide just a little additional readability for the items that we've drawn. You can see I've got the same here for the pillow and the sheet on the king size bed. I'm going to take a very quick moment and I'm going to change a few things in the bathtub and in my lavatories. Now I'm holding down my right mouse key or my right mouse button as I do this. So right click drag. I'm not going to create an XREF. I can open all three of those files at once. And because this is a slower, not an older computer, but a slower computer, it's going to take a while to open these files. Here we go. Right. Highlight all these inside objects. Come up and make them 0.15. Close it. Yes, I want to save it. Interior objects. We'll come up here. 0.15. Close it. Save it. Interior objects. Line weight. 0.15. Close it. Save it. Now the only things that, now obviously I don't have any square lavatories in here at the moment, but I do have a bathtub and I do have an elliptical lavatory. So I for insert. Now unfortunately this dialog you can only insert one block at a time. So I'll come to bathtub. Do I want to redefine it? Yes. Okay, and you can see how that line weight is thinner. I don't need to place a new version of the bathtub, so I'll press escape on the keyboard. But you'll notice how this right here, where the shower head is, it's easier to discern what's the shower head and what's the bathtub. So that's the reason why we make these differentiations in our blocks. Elliptical lavatory. Okay, I want to redefine it. And you can see those line weights thinned out. It's just a little artistic thing to help things read a little bit better. So that's pretty good. All right, I'm going to put my washer dryer in here. And the layer for that is A Floor Specialties. Blocks. No, I'm also going to put my toilet paper in here. And that also goes on the specialty layer. So I'm going to zoom in. And I'm just going to back him up 6 inches off the edge of that corner. Just like that. There we go. Now, these blocks happen to be in appliances, dryer, and a washer. Also know that I'm going to need a refrigerator. And let's go ahead and get my range, my stove in here. Let's get a drop-in. It's more of a standard residential kind of item. These will be in the kitchen, and the kitchen is going to be up here. All right. So let's see. I'm going to highlight, select my block, left click, and move in. Just click right there. I don't remember exactly how far off that needs to go. Okay, 13 inches? No. That's going to be 16? No. 13, 14, 15, 16? Okay, there's 16. Grab a hold of that one, come down to here. Okay, that's awfully tight. I want a little more breathing room here. Only got, yeah, that's 2 inches. I want to put another 2 inches in here. I'm going to move that wall over 2 inches. And that gives us a total distance here, 5'2". Yeah, we'll make that work. So now I want a set of double doors. So I'm going to copy just the door and that back jamb. I want those doors to be 4'6". No, I want to be in a full 5 feet when they're open. And right now, you can make them 4'6". Right now they're at 2 feet. And let's see what 2 feet looks like. Or a set of 4-foot doors. So I'll just mirror that right there. I'm going to clean this intersection up. The reason I'm going to clean this up is because now that line, I have a midpoint. That midpoint I can use to help make sure that door is centered on this washer dryer space. So highlight everything, move. That base point of displacement is there, and I can move it to the midpoint of that line. That's not bad, but I don't think that's going to work. So I'm going to scale these, reference that distance, which is 2. Let's make it 2 foot 4 inches. And move that back 4. And move that back 4. That's a little better. You can kind of tell by looking. Think of when they're having to move these items into place. If I take the dryer or take the washer and smash it all the way up against that one wall, you can tell now that, and I'm just going to draw a few lines in here just for illustration. You can tell that I can squeeze this other thing in here. Yeah, you can tell I can move that thing into place now. There we go. And instead of using the rectangle and whatnot, I'm going to use the break command to clean up where the hole for this door. So BR, return, and I will select that line and come back to there. Press return again. Left click, and then press return, and highlight these lines and delete. That's just a different way that you clean up a hole for a set of doors. Now for the tricky part. I'm going to see if I can get that to fit in here. The mechanical equipment. I said my mechanical equipment was 2 foot square, roughly speaking. And look at that, it fits. Perfectly, mind you. Just to make it pretty, I'll start there and go down 2 inches. I'm going to get to that intersection, cut across, and go 2 inches, just so it's a nice, it looks pretty, it doesn't look just haphazard. And then a circle, radius of 11 inches, and move it 12 inches over, move it a little further. That's right on the acceptable line of where you can move this to. That's a little funny though. It might not work as well as I would have liked. But you know what? If I take both of these, put them here, and I'm going to rotate them. There. And now, oh, yeah, see, that didn't quite work, did it? That's okay, I need to scale them anyway. Highlight both of those, scale them. There's my base point, reference, left click, and bring it down to 24 inches. Wow, that's right on the point here. Rotate both of these from there. R for reference angle. And I'm zooming in there. There's my new reference angle. There we go. And that's just probably barely enough to make it work. It's not as, again, it's not as pretty as I would have liked. But it'll do. Here's a fun trick you guys may, let's do it this way. Left click here and moving it to that intersection there. Here we go. BR. And BR. Good enough. And we need to draw lines, close this off. This is where things are going to be kind of weird. Any carpenter is going to look at you and probably hate you for trying to draw something like what I'm doing right now. Alright, you know what? Delete that. I was really hoping to keep that too. We're just going to close it off that way. And we're intruding a little bit into the 5 foot here, so I might need to monkey with that. Alternately, we could backtrack our way into changing this. If I start a line and I go here, across to here, offset 5 inches, and then offset 5 feet. This will give me an angle to work with instead of an arc, which is not a huge problem. Extend everything across 5 inches. And some trim. I still want that 2.5 inches in here. No plot, which I'm not going to see in my filter right now. So look at my properties. There it is, no plot. And now I don't have the break in a strange spot. So my design intent is more or less intact. And since we're dealing with something that's more or less the same size, here to there. Now the reason I did to the midpoint of this inside edge is because the inside edge is going to be centered while the outside edge won't be. Hopefully you'll see what I mean when I finish this. Okay, here at the move command, the last thing I did is I rotated those objects. And when I go to move them and I type pre for previous, it'll automatically select those objects. And so now I can zoom in, move it from there to there. Basically means I can delete that inside line and then BR on the outside line and pull it all the way back to there. And that little piece I can delete. It's not perfect, but it'll do. That will do nicely. All right, so that finishes out the mechanical space and washer dryer space. Getting some doors copied in here. We'll see you in the next video and we'll lay out the kitchen.